With tears in my eyes, I went into my basement and I started to really try to push through what felt like sadness. And then I still wrote down my goals. But on this day, my goals was a little bit different.
Quick note before we dive in. If you're a woman in healthcare leadership, and especially if you're a woman physician or clinician leader looking for a space that truly gets the challenges that we experience as women leaders in medicine, check out our Remap cohort. It's 4 months, real community, real skills, and 22 CME credits. Link is in the show notes. Welcome back to another episode. I am your host, and as always, I am so grateful to be with you for another podcast. The conversation we're about to have is, if you follow me, you know is near and dear to my heart because as I always tell my son, your most valuable asset is your brain. And we are going to be talking about protecting that most valuable asset with a fast friend, someone who actually we were supposed to be sharing the stage together. And through some events that didn't get to happen, but we did get to connect. And when we had our first conversation, the level of commonality that we noticed, the integration of the work that we do, I just knew we had to have this conversation for the audience. I am so excited to introduce to you my guest, Keston Glasgow. He is the founder and CEO of Mind Insurance Technologies, and we're going to learn about what that means. But his zone of genius is hearing what is not said and identifying patterns. And y'all know that is my jam. So I cannot wait to have this conversation. Keston, thank you so much for being on the show. Welcome.
Maiysha, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure. And I just hope that this conversation enriches everyone's life and they're able to walk away with something from it.
Oh, I already know that they will. I already know. So I love for my audience to get to know my guests. So why don't you share with us who's Keston and what do you do and how did you come to be where you are?
The Cliff Notes version of who I am and how did I get here. So Keston Glasgow, and I am an AI strategist for human potential. And I do that through the Mind Insurance framework that helps with behavioral awareness and change. And that journey really started when my wife and I, we were getting into real estate in 2020. And I used to be a cybersecurity engineer. I had the great job, the dream job, where I owned a property in New York City where I lived at the time. And I didn't pay to live, meaning that I had a tenant on the top floor. My parents were on one floor, and my wife and I, we lived in the basement of my house and our house. And at that time, living in New York City, having a 6-figure job, not paying for rent, most people would say that, man, you've gotten to the top, right? And how I felt having that great job that was on Wall Street on the 34th floor, it was something that still felt empty, although coming from nothing, coming from Trinidad to working my way all the way to the 34th floor, looking over the Brooklyn Bridge, I still felt empty. I still felt like something was missing. And so we got into real estate in 2020 and the pandemic happened and they were giving out severance packages that made me feel like this was the opportunity of a lifetime. Let's grab the 6 months package and we figure out real estate. That's exactly what we did. And so at the same time, in perfect sync with this, my wife's mom, she had leukemia. And so we were going back and forth from Atlanta to New York to be caretakers for her mom. And then we said, hey, let's go permanently into Atlanta to take care of your mom so that we don't have to go back and forth. So left everything in New York, my son, my family, everyone to come to Atlanta to take care of my wife's mom. And 3 months after she passed.
Mm.
She passed away. And I remember the day that she passed, I was struggling with not being overly sad and depressed and still trying to move forward. And at that time, I was implementing all of these new habits my high performance coach was teaching me. And I heard something say that same day, hey, go in the basement and do a quick workout. Go work out. And so with tears in my eyes, I went into my basement and I started to do my pull-ups and push-ups. And I started to really try to push through what felt like sadness. And then I still wrote down my goals. But on this day, my goals was a little bit different because it was more of how could I be there for my wife and show up? That was my goal that day. How could I be there for the rest of the family and for myself? And that really helped remove the clouds, I would say, from my mind. Still sad, but was still able to show up in a different way. And on that day, I remembered just having this thought in passing, geez, that was like my mind insurance. And from that day, I had these group of habits and behaviors that I now call mind insurance.
I love that. It's funny how we come up with things, right? And it's interesting because it reminds me of like how I came up with mind remapping. We were talking about the work that I do that is based in neurolinguistic programming, neuroscience-based communication. And one of my coaching clients was like, you just remapped my mind. I was like, I did not. Can I use that?
Yeah.
And so I started to use that phrasing, and then lo and behold, the company became the Mind Remapping Academy, the Mind Remapping Company, and then now I have the Remap framework, and it just became a whole thing. So it's so funny how these things come up.
Yep. And I think it's the best way, other than just sitting down trying to have a brain dump session to come up with something. I think it's just more authentic. And to some degree, that download or God-given gift that's, hey, here's what I want you to take on and carry on.
Yeah.
So I love it. Remapping is absolutely fantastic as well.
We were talking before we hit record here. When you said mind insurance, of course, the first thing that came to mind is what is insurance for, right? To protect our most valuable assets. And the brain is our most valuable asset. The mind is our most capable and valuable asset, right? And so what I hear is in this process of navigating grief, you were not stopped by that grief, but you utilize your practices to help you effectively navigate through. And that is protecting your emotions, protecting your health, protecting your mind. I would love to know, how did that evolve from that time where you said, that's my mind insurance, and then it's developed from there. Like, how has that evolved, and how does that inform what you do with your clients?
Yes. So that's where the genesis of it started. And honestly, at that point, I didn't think anything of it because at that point, I wasn't a coach yet. I wasn't anything. It was just for me. And so 6 months after my wife's mom passed, we had a miscarriage, my wife and I. And 4 months after that, my mother was diagnosed with lung cancer. And so we had this catapulting set of circumstances that most people would say, oh my God, you just can't win.
Yeah.
And for me, having my practices, it helped me to reinforce what I started to believe was this mind insurance framework. And over time, I used to coach, or I used to do these sales calls in one of my mastermind groups. And one day somebody just said, hey, I'd love for you to coach me. And I'm like, me? Really? And that just turned into me starting to look at it that way, because my wife and my mom was like, dude, we've been telling you this is who you are. And so I said, okay. And the feeling I got from that made me know that this was my purpose. But to your question, as I started to grow my coaching business, I had a client, her name is Peggy. And Peggy would say, dude, I hear what you're teaching us, but there has to be more to you. There has to be more. And she forced me to sit down and really think of what I was really doing, and subconsciously, right?
Yes.
I had grown into these habits and behaviors without really creating the framework so that other people could follow. It was more of a brute force mindset. This is how you do certain things. And so I started to create my own framework, because at that time I am still Brandon Burchard certified as a high performance coach. And that's what I was teaching them. But she felt like there was so much more to me. And so I started to go internal. I started to spend a lot of time thinking through it. And I created the framework of what Mind Insurance has developed into today. So it's really a 3-part framework that goes deeper within. It's like the framework within the frameworks, right?
Yes. Yes.
And it starts off with policy planning. Just like how when you go to get a car, you call for insurance, you call Geico, and the guy at the other line says, hey, what type of car is it? What's the VIN number? How many miles you're going to drive? And you literally plan for your policy.
That's right.
And so what I thought of, this is all of the details for your vision.
That's right.
What are you trying to do, and what are the details behind it? Because your car won't be insured if you didn't have down to the VIN number.
That's right.
And so it's like trying to use a GPS without an address.
Right.
Like a lot of ambiguity, and you're not really sure why you're not performing the way that you are. And the Bible is very clear, right? Write the vision and make it plain. And so it's that vision. That's the first part of the Mind Insurance process.
I love that, because clarity is everything. If you don't know where you're going, you will end up somewhere else, and often not where you intended to go, right? Yes. And so I think it's so important. And I think a lot of times people have an idea of what they want, or sometimes people don't even consider.
No.
They're like, what do I want? Because especially I'm speaking from the mom here, right? What my kids want, like what my family needs, what's all my mom, all my sisters, all my clients. But then we often put ourselves on the back burner. So to have that clear vision, what is the intention? What is the purpose? What is the behavior? And it reminds me of the stages of change. And I love the stages of change. So you have that pre-contemplation where you don't even know, you don't even know what's going on. Yep. And then you're like, oh, something's going on. And you're like contemplating change. But then why most people fail at change is because they do not prepare properly.
1000%
is the preparation. And so it's like, oh, okay, now I'm going to do something. You got to know where you're going, and you got to plan it. You got to plan it. So I love that. What's the next one?
And just before we hop off of that, because it's not only years ahead, it's also today. What am I doing today? Being clear on what your day is like. And if you ask, 95% of people do not plan their day and have a level of clarity in their day.
Yep. That's why they do a bunch of nothing.
That's exactly.
It's like busy. You could be busy, but then not getting things done because you don't have a vision for what you want as an outcome of the day. And a lot of times when I'm working with clients, we'll get the big vision and then we'll reverse engineer. Okay, what do you need to get to there? What do you need over the next year, over the next 6 months, over the next 3 months, over the next month? Okay, what is the structure that you need this week?
Yes.
And what do you need today that'll give you what you want at the end of the week?
Yes.
Yeah, love it.
Necessary.
Love it.
Absolutely necessary. So the second part is it's your premium payments. Premium payments. And the
Yes.
person on the other line has every single thing that they need. Then
Yes.
they give you a quote. They give you your premium payments that you're
Yes.
supposed to pay.
Yes.
And here's what I love people to recognize at this point, and this is why most people's minds are not insured. They start something without knowing the price.
Preach.
Are you willing to pay the price for the thing?
price.
Because if it is that you got a car and you got a
Yes.
Lambo and your Lambo payment is $3,000 a month, are you willing to pay that price?
That's right.
Because if you're clear on the vision and you know what the price is, just like when we got into real estate, there was a price for that.
That's
there was
right.
a certain amount of hustle, of grind, of all these different things that needed to happen. And we were willing to pay the price. And so this premium payment, if most people knew what their payments were, they probably won't do the thing.
That's right.
And so they start doing something or carrying weight that they weren't built to carry.
Yes.
And then they end up stopping and quitting. And now we're frustrated. We start second guessing ourselves. We start having these subconscious thoughts with ourselves, these negative thoughts that could have been prevented had we, one, been clear on where we were going, and then two, understand, am I willing to pay the price to bridge the gap from where I am and where I want to go?
Listen, and here's the thing that people don't talk about in terms of the premium, because there's the premium, there's like all the riders that you have, there's the fine print, and within that fine print, people don't also recognize that sometimes part of the price is shifting relationships.
Woo.
Yes. So there are going to be people in your life that will not be growing with you. People in your life who will naysay. People in your life who will mean, but you may have to rearrange your contact with them. Doesn't mean you have to throw them out altogether. There will be some people that are unhealthy that you'll need to be like, all right. And then there are some people that'll be like, maybe I should limit contact, or maybe I should be in contact for specific things only, right? Yep. And so you have to be willing to pay that price as well. The price of the types of being in the types of relationships that you need to be in to fulfill the goal. And that takes being out there and being intentional about developing new relationships and sustaining new relationships. And so I think that's another thing that we don't always talk about in terms of the premium. I love this premium.
Every goal has a toll. And if you're willing to pay that price, and one of the prices that I had to pay when we were moving from New York to Atlanta, when we got into real estate, the amount that we paid to get into real estate, one of the prices we had to pay was not telling our parents how much we paid to do it.
Oh, yes.
Because their beliefs wasn't where we needed to be to support us yet. We were still struggling with our own beliefs at that point. And when we moved from New York to Atlanta, we didn't tell but so many people. When I was leaving my cybersecurity job to pursue real estate full time, we only told maybe a handful of people because we assessed that toll that needed to be paid and said, we cannot afford to allow those people to insert doubt into our mind.
That's right.
And so we just didn't tell them. So those relationships that you talk about, my God, I had a lot of tough conversations and had to be okay with repositioning them.
Yes.
One of my mentors, he says, you don't kick them off of the bus. You just put them in a different seat on the bus. Right. And so it's repositioning them.
Or put them on a different bus that may be following you.
We'll spin the block and come back.
Exactly. Another toll that I thought of as you were sharing, so there's a couple, but one in particular is the toll of the work that you must do on yourself. Speaking of beliefs, Man, one of the things that I think stops people, like when I'm talking with different people around, like doing one-on-one work, and I do a lot of deep work, is that fear of going deep within oneself.
Yes.
What do you have to face in order to get to the root of some of the beliefs that you have so that
Yeah.
you can release them?
Yeah.
And I find that there are a lot of people who are afraid of that work, right? And so I think that's another toll that must be paid. And then another one that I think we don't talk about is the toll of failing
Oh
forward,
yeah. Oh yeah.
falling down and getting up, falling down and getting up. You have to be willing to get off track to come back on track.
And these are things that in the framework, because there are several tools. I just didn't go into each one because we'd
Yeah,
be on here for a while.
I
Um,
know. This is so interesting.
it's you will fail. It's not a matter because
That's right.
there's a I call it the degree of separation between who
Mhm,
you are and who you want to be. What are those degrees? Because
mhm.
another toll that you'd have to pay is paying for the knowledge, because
Yes,
you don't know what you don't know, and
that
the
part.
identity of who you are when you've decided to change and who you want to be requires knowledge.
Speak.
And you're going to either need to pay for a mentor, be in a community,
Mhm.
or some sort of payment where you have to. It's a non-negotiable. This
That's
is
right.
how it has to happen. And most people don't consider that in terms of thinking that it's supposed to be free. If I got to pay for it, it's a scam. No, it isn't.
That is
This
wild.
exactly. And so that is another toll. And
Yeah.
I would say
Yeah.
the biggest toll to me, one of the
Mhm,
biggest tolls that
mhm.
I've seen is, and you've kind of touched on it, but asking themselves, what am I willing to stop doing?
Yes.
Am I willing to stop the Netflix and chill when I got to go do something else? Am
Yes.
I willing to
Yes.
stop hanging out every night? Am I willing to get better with budgeting? Am I willing
That's
to
right.
learn about taxes? Am I willing to stop doing what I used to do and now
That's right.
start doing something new? And I think that most people would trade in the Lamborghini for a Civic and downgrade their, and I got nothing against Civics, but but you downgrade the goal, the vision in policy planning once you start assessing the toll.
Yeah.
And that is okay. I would rather you do that ahead of time, which is how you protect your mind from going through stuff. Because if you
Right.
go through this framework ahead of time before starting, what it is, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, what am I gonna stop doing is a
What am
huge
I gonna
one.
what am I gonna stop doing? And a lot of people, so it reminds me of a lot of people have over the last year have been boycotting certain big box people, right?
Yep, yep.
And so and at some point, because of convenience, folks start going back to Target. And and or people are like, "Oh, I can't get off of Amazon." And I admit Amazon is a tough one. It's a tough one. But one of the things that I've been noticing as I've been on my journey to like shift my social responsibility and spending is what it actually takes
Mhm,
to not order on Amazon, right? What
mhm,
does it take? Oh, what
mhm.
is the research you have to do to go to the directly to the person, to the employer? What are the other things that are available? It's not as hard as people might think it is,
No.
right? What I don't go to Target. I was never a Target girl anyway, but to shift from going to even Walmart. I was a Sam's person, but I wasn't a Walmart person. To cancel my Sam's membership to
Yep.
say, "Oh, but you know what? I can get good gas at Costco," because really all I did at Sam's is get their gas. But it does take some planning. It does
Mhm.
take some intentionality and it takes some commitment to the core value that you're living into. And I
Yes.
think that's a piece is people will some people, not all people, will willingly abandon their values for convenience.
Mm.
And that what you're speaking to of
Yeah.
this, what are you going to stop doing? Are you going to allow it to be a small inconvenience in the beginning so that you could develop a new habit and it becomes automatic? Or will you, at the first sign of struggle or temptation, abandon
Hmm.
your core values?
Yep.
And admittedly, it's like you said, you have to be willing to fail. Admittedly, there are things that take a little bit more intention and that take more time to disconnect from than others. But as much as you can be in that discipline.
You know how I like to describe that, Maisha? There's a
Yes.
term that I use called identity collision.
Oh,
And having an identity collision is when who you are collides with who you want to be because of who you
yeah.
used to be.
Ooh. Say it
And
again. Say it again.
when who you are collides with who you want to be because of who you used to be.
Yes. Hey, before we get back to the episode, I want to take a moment to share something close to my heart. 17 years ago, someone saw my leadership before I could see it myself. That experience changed everything for me. And that's exactly why I created the Remap cohort. If you're a woman physician or leader in healthcare who's tired of being talked over, burned out from carrying conversations you don't have language for, or just craving a space where you don't have to explain being the only one in the room, this is for you. Remap is a 4-month cohort, a small, intimate community for women, physicians, and leaders in healthcare, where you'll build real communication skills and community, navigate the hard stuff, and yes, earn CME credit in the process. 22 Category 1 AMA CME to be exact. Listen, you deserve a space that pours into you, not one that continues to extract from you. Find out more, reserve your spot, or schedule a discovery call at mindremappingacademy.com. Also, the link is in the show notes.
This is that collision where, and if we were to use the same example that you were using, hey, I want to stop shopping at Target. This is who I want to be.
Right.
But who I used to be loves convenience and loves
Mhm.
this thing. And what ends up happening is you end up being stuck.
Yes.
You end up not doing anything. You're like,
Yeah.
you have these great thoughts, and it's man, even if it was to eat more healthy, it's like I see that healthier version of myself. I
Mhm.
know that I could be a better man. I know that I could be a better executive. And we have all of these I knows. That's who I desire to be. But because of who I used to be, well, I've been hurt before, or
Yeah.
I love convenience, or
Mhm.
one of the things that had me in my identity collision, because I've been married before 1.5 times prior to me being married now.
One and a
one
half times.
1.5 because I got divorced, and then the person that I was engaged to gave me back my ring. So that's the one and
Oh,
a half.
1.5.
So
Okay, got it.
when I got into my current marriage, I had this goal of being the best husband in the world. This was
Mm.
my vision. This was
Yeah.
my goal. I was
Yeah.
like very clear on that. I never
Yeah.
wanted to get divorced again. Within the first 6 months of being married, my wife started to say very similar things that the both people said. And at that point, I'm like, holy crap, what's
Yeah.
going on? The
Yeah.
common denominator is me.
Right.
And when I started to assess our disagreements, I would always find myself saying, but that's just the way I am. That's how we do it
Mm.
in my culture. That's how I was raised. Realizing that the version of me could not hold on to who I used to be,
Yeah.
because it's now going to be like having your foot on the gas and the brake
Mm.
at the same time. You're kind of
Yes.
just spinning and going nowhere.
That's right.
And so I had to be willing to let go of some of the things that kept me stuck in being
Mhm.
the person that I
Mhm.
wanted to change, so that I could get out of my identity collision and become a better man. And so that's where that concept of the identity collision came in, just letting go of some of the beliefs and the things
Yeah.
that you may have with a previous identity.
Including believing that who you are is just who you are and that you can change. That's,
Yeah.
antithetical to what neuroplasticity is, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Look,
And
so before we run out of time, we got to get to,
the last one.
because we can talk all day just about the tolls.
The last step of the mind insurance frameworks is the daily deductibles.
Ooh.
What do
Come
I
on.
have to do daily? Because unlike most insurance policies, you got to pay your insurance every day.
Yes.
You have to renew your mind every day,
Every day.
every single day, because your policy runs out. It lapses.
Come
You
on.
could think that the work that you're doing would sustain you, and it starts to depreciate. And so every single day, there are a group of practices that helps to renew your policy that allows you to pay that deductible every single day. And so there are several different things. And here's where we get into a lot of detail, simply because I don't like just telling people, just go meditate. There are different ways to meditate. And so you go into temperaments at this point, like based on your temperament and who you are. A walk in meditation might be better for you just based on who you are versus somebody that just needs to sit down and stay still. And so I used to be very, this is just the way you do it, until I started studying neurology and being more informed as to how to really start reprogramming your mind. And so there are several things. I could give you what I do as my daily deductibles.
Sure.
And so I start my day with prayer and worship. And the reason why for prayer and worship, I'll tell you kind of like how I came up with it. With prayer and worship, I would find that every time I go to church, I would leave feeling so fulfilled and motivated. And when I sat down and I really thought, what really happens when I pray? When I pray, it's more of a focused meditation on something in the future that I desire. And it's me submitting to a being that's more powerful than me. And so I do that intentionally every single day. Worship changes my vibration. When I sing and clap, the vagus nerve starts to send the things that you need to be able to do and to show up in a different way. And so I start off my day with that. Then I go to intentional learning. And so from 4 to 5, prayer, meditation, worship, intentional learning from 5 to 6. What I realized was that every single time I go to a conference, I leave motivated. I leave feeling fired up. I'm like, I believe I could do anything, type of thing. And it's because it's creating new neuroplasticities and belief. And so now I'm like, I want to do that every single day. Because if I could create this for myself instead of going to a conference, then I could feel motivated every single day if I learn. So I implemented that for myself.
Wait, so just for the audience to get it, he's saying 4 to 5 a.m. and then 5 to 6 a.m. I am still dead to the world.
This is why I say this is me.
This is for you. Yes. But I when you said 4, I was like, wait, 4 p.m. That's when I do stuff. No, I'm just kidding.
4 a.m. works for me. And as much as I would like to take credit for it, I think I'm just programmed. Paradigms is habits and behaviors passed down from one generation to the next. And my paradigm is that I've seen my parents wake up at 4 a.m. all of my life. And as cool as I would like to sound, I think I'm just programmed. It's just a good program and that works for me.
Yeah, lovely.
So after that, I go work out. That helps me to create new neural pathways. And I only know this now in learning. Before I just did it, is like, it makes me feel better. I had no idea And even working out is a form of meditation for me because I'm there, but I'm really not. I'm somewhere else. My body is moving and I'm thinking about my day because now I have everything planned out, mapped out. I know what I'm trying to achieve in my day. And now I'm just thinking about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so in workout, people say, "Hey, what type of workout do you do?" I'm like, "I don't know. Not until I get there."
The kind of workout that I do. Right.
I
Yeah.
just gotta get there and move. And once that's done, that is my mind insurance morning routine.
I love it. And once you get done, that's when I wake up and start my mind insurance routine.
There you go. Having one is so important, man,
Yeah.
because it's that layer of protection where if you feel motivated, if you feel alive, if you feel inspired, if you
Yes.
know that what you're working towards is greater or bigger than anything else, then when something happens, you kind of just go through it.
Absolutely.
You go through it. And
Absolutely.
going back to that story with when my mother-in-law passed, that's exactly what happened. I was so intentional. I knew what was gonna happen in my day. I was inspired. I knew. And so being able to do those things helped me to get back on track, even
Yeah.
when you're thrown off. And
Yeah.
so to me, I don't know how people live without it. And this is the reason why I say be ready
Yeah.
before resilient.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
when you're ready, you could go through it. When you're resilient, and mean that you fell. And being resilient is important.
It is.
But why not just not fall? Go through it. This is
Go
why
through it.
protecting your mind is so important.
That's right. I love your mind insurance morning. And so it's very similar in a lot of ways to what I do and for different reasons. So I'd love to share.
Please.
So for me, when I wake up, the first thing I do is a gratitude list. So I've been doing it for, oh my gosh, I think it is probably close to 20 years now. And so I have 20 journals. I save my journals.
Yes.
And so each morning, get up, write 3 to 5. Sometimes if I have time and I'm really into it, it may be like 7 to 10. But mostly my minimum is 3 to 5 things that I'm grateful for. And what that does for me is it really sets the day, it focuses the mind, it brings me to the present of all of the wonderful, abundant things that I have, my son, the relationship that we have, that I love, the work that I do. It just brings me into that space. And then, of course, I get up and I love on my son and drop him off to school. But then I go to yoga. So 4 days a week I practice. And for me, that brings me to the present because I am a person who is always like 10 steps in the future.
Yeah.
And that, like, I'm into next week. I'm into what I got to do next month, what's coming up next year. That's just the way my mind works. And so the yoga just like brings me right to the present, brings me into my body because I'm like naturally in my mind. And then of course it's flexibility and exercise and community. It grounds me in community and it puts me in touch with my emotions for the day. And so then I come home and start my day. But lunchtime, and I just recently integrated this in the last like few years. Lunchtime, I set aside 30 minutes a day to do sitting meditation. It's a reset.
Yes. And the reason why I'm like, yes, because I also have a midday and evening.
Me too.
Yeah.
Because I was going to ask you what your evening was. I knew you. I knew it. Weird.
So I love that you brought up the midday. I call it the midday reset.
Yeah.
And all of these things have these stories that come to mind as to how I came up with them, simply because I'm not smarter than anyone else. I just sat down and just started to think about ways to explain why, right? Yeah. And so when I was younger, my sister and I, we would look at NASCAR. And I don't know about you, but when I was younger, would say, I'm the blue car, I'm the red car. Or if we're watching Ninja Turtles, you'd be like, I'm
Yes.
Donatello, I'm
Yes.
Raphael.
Yes.
And so I would always choose the car that was in front. And so the car that's in front is going around and around, and I'm happy we're winning. And then all of a sudden, he'd pull in to the pit stop. And I would be furious because I'm like, you idiot, you just lost first place. Like, what is going on with you? And it wasn't until later on in life I realized that they needed to change their tires before it blew out.
Yes.
Refuel before it blew out.
Yes.
Because if it blew out while they were going, then they will be last place.
Yes. Or they will be something else.
Exactly. They won't be around to talk about it.
That's right.
And similarly for us, we get home in the evening, burnt out, worn out of gas because we hadn't taken a pit stop. And so my midday practices is that pit stop that allows me to have a pattern interrupt in how or what I'm feeling.
Speak.
Because 95% of what we do is done by our subconscious mind. That means that we don't know that we're doing some of the things that we do. Just like driving, when was the last time you really thought, I'm going to press the accelerator, I'm going to press the brake.
Right.
No, let me press the brake. No, let me press the accelerator. And we don't think about that.
We just
right?
do it.
And so this is where the whole practice makes perfect comes in. I like to say practice makes subconscious because that's where it's being pushed. It's now become this automatic tuning that is saying that we're perfect, and it really means we don't have to think about what we're doing.
Right.
Now, if we know that to be true, then there must be things that is happening that we don't know that is happening. Unless we slow down, have a pit stop, and check in.
That's right.
Keston, how are you feeling? What's going on? Anything throw me off? What am I carrying within my body that I need to release?
Yes.
And so I do a pattern interrupt check, and then I check my energy. I score my energy from 1 through 10 to ask myself, what's actually taking my energy right now? Social media? Is it a coworker? And whatever I need to balance myself out so that I re-energize myself, I make an adjustment.
Yeah.
And that's my midday. That's my midday check-in.
I love it. And for me, midday check-in also means midday refuel. I never skip lunch.
Yes.
Because I have blood sugar stuff. If I do skip lunch, my blood sugar is going to plummet. That's how healthy I am. So my body's always using the glucose. I'm like, I got to replenish. But really, so it's that refuel both in the body and the mind. Yeah. So that's one thing. And then, of course, I always have a mid-afternoon snack because after all that brain work in the afternoon, just give me a little punch.
Yep.
In the afternoons, though, because I know you got an afternoon evening routine, and I know we're getting close to time, but I want to hear it. I go play in the garden.
Ooh, I like that.
Yes, that's a new one. That's in the last 6 months because I just set up my garden, and I typically, at least a few times a week, play with my son. So we will play Battleship, or we'll do these lots. What do you call those little spinny things? I can't remember what they're called, but we may go fish. We may go play chess. We spend, even if it's just 15, 20 minutes before he has to go up and do his bath routine, playing, talking, conversing. For me, that's a way to be poured back into.
Yeah.
And then before I go to bed, I do a visualization of the next day.
Yeah.
So I do my visualization of the next day before I go to bed, as it is able to sink in and my brain's able to assimilate. My reticular activating system is getting ready for the next day already while I sleep.
So that's awesome. And it's very similar.
Yes.
Very similar, where I celebrate wins. Celebrate wins because our mind remembers negative things. It's programmed to remember the things that did not go well.
That's right.
And so in the evening, I celebrate wins, and I celebrate them from 2 different instances. I celebrate the achievements and the things that you could see, but I also celebrate who I'm becoming. What decisions and actions did I do differently that's evident of who I'm becoming?
Yes.
Like, our mind needs evidence and proof that we are transforming. Without it, it would be able to give you all of the negative thoughts as to, look at you, you didn't even do X, Y, or Z.
Yeah.
And so giving and writing down, and this is all in the app that I created.
Yes.
Where you could go back and see all of the days and weeks and months of evidence that I'm transforming. And so that is my Celebrate Wins. It's a practical external goal and then an internal goal of the evidence of my transformation.
Yeah.
And then the T is tomorrow's setup. I'm following a framework in my head. I didn't say that before, but it is a framework that I have. Framework within the framework, which, similar to you, I prepare for tomorrow. And it's kind of like, you ever had a pop-up quiz? Do you love pop-up quizzes in school?
No.
No, exactly, right? We hate pop-up quizzes, but if we're given the opportunity to study before, then you do much better on the quiz. You have less anxiety for that quiz. Similarly, tomorrow is a quiz.
Yes.
It is a test. Are you prepared for the test, or do you just show up and it feels like a pop-up quiz to you?
That's right.
This is how I lower my anxiety, is preparing for it. And you have all of the neurological things that also kind of kick into play, that you already mentioned. But from my angle of it is preparing for the quiz. I need to prepare to be ready, because that gives me confidence in what I'm gonna do the following day. So that's my evening routine.
I love it. Now I'm gonna throw one more thing in the mix that I have, is supplemental insurance. Supplemental insurance are the people on the outside, I call them my accountability partners, that hold me to who I say I am. It's like AFLAC, you know what I'm saying? So I had to bring it in, because these are all of our internal practices. But one of the things I am so clear of, that I have learned over time, being a Lone Ranger and being a recovering Lone Ranger, I should say, is that without my community, I'd be back wherever I was, right?
Yeah.
So I've learned the value of those accountability partners, formal and informal. And so I was thinking about that. I was like, oh, supplemental insurance.
That's really, really good. Here's another one, or a part of the framework, because everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face, right? That's Mike Tyson.
Yes.
And as good as having this framework might be, there are days when something crazy happens.
Yes.
And so you need to have that supplemental, or that thing that you could use. And didn't plan to talk about this part of it, but here's one of those things that I use on my desk right here. And in here is, when days go terribly wrong, when it feels as if everything I'm working towards is not working, I pull out these cards that my wife gave me.
Oh.
And these cards are a whole bunch of pictures of us. And behind every card has something that she wrote herself, which this one has: I trust you with all of my heart, and I promise that you'll always be able to trust and depend on me too.
So sweet.
You're up for anything, and I love that. Even if sometimes you're not too keen on you would still try. You're brave and a little crazy.
Ah, lovely.
And there are hundreds of these things here that, when I need a quick pick-me-upper, like this music, all of these things are supplemental that helps to change my mood for me. And I'll end with this. I used to have my son, who's now 16, as that thing that I would call to help me change my mood, because he'd always make me happy, and just being able to talk to him. And I learned something, and I said, okay, this shouldn't be people. Because one day when I was down, he was down. And I felt like he had an attitude with me that made me more upset. And I said, this isn't his fault. He needs me. I'm wanting him. And I said, wow, okay. I'm trying to offload my stuff and being able to come. And so I said, every supplemental thing needs to be an inanimate object for guaranteed certainty, simply because we have no idea how that person is going to feel or when they need you in that moment. And like, it could just be that time for them as well. And I'm like, got it. Does that make sense?
Yes, but I'm going to push back on this a little bit.
Please.
Because if you only depend on one person, yes. But that is why I said community.
Yeah.
Because not everybody in your circle is going to be down on the same exact day.
Yeah.
And if you're in the kind of inner circle community where you're in communication every day, you kind of know where each of those people are in their space. My biz bestie, Dr. Nicole, if I know she's going through something, I'm probably less likely to call her when I'm in a fix as my friend Manny, who, if I text, be like, yo, talk me off the ledge, then he's, what's up? Or sometimes I know Manny's working on something, he's deep in the thing, he's probably not going to be available. And so I may call somebody else. It's having a circle around you, a community around you, an inner circle around you, where it's not just one person. And I definitely think the inanimate objects, the, for me, the garden could be it, or whatever it is, right? I think that's definitely a different type of supplemental, but still getting things out, making things explicit, naming it, being out loud with it, allows us to let it go, process 100%. It out of the body. So I'm gonna push back a little bit on that.
No, and that is a valid pushback. And we need community. There is 1,000% a part of this mind insurance framework. 1,000%. Can't do it. Can't do without it. It's a necessary part. I have nothing else there. You need it. I look at it a different step of the way, but I totally understand, based on what the point that you're making, you're 100% right.
Yeah.
And having that person or people be able to help pick you up.
Yes.
I do think, Maiysha, the higher you go, the less people you would have to do that, until you're at a place where the emotional health that you would need to be responsible for, and the more external things that's in control or have the ability to govern that, you'd be in trouble. And I say you, but I'm not saying you. We'd be in trouble. Yeah, we'd be in trouble. The garden, and just having these practices, right? It's not necessarily a thing, but it's like, what practices could we do to shift our own mood, and then go have talk with the community instead of just kind of always vomiting on them?
Yes, 1,000%.
Yeah, so that's what I meant.
You're absolutely right. I think it's the both and. You're absolutely right. The higher in development that you get, sometimes it is challenging to find those people, which makes the case for continuing to cultivate new relationships, right? Part of that, there's the policy planning and the premium, part of the premium.
Yes.
And
look at you.
Listen, I've been listening. So I'm like, looking at time, like, woo, yeah. And It's been a gift. We can talk all day. I feel like there's so much more to talk about. Offline, we're going to talk about when we're going to have our next podcast together, because this right here, this was so gold. We could just chit chat, talk shop all day. But what I want to bring home for the audience is these 3 points. You got to do policy planning, right? You got to get the quote. You got to have your premium preparation. I'm gonna let you say it the right way, but I'm telling you what I'm taking away from it. And you got to you have your daily deductibles. I just love the way you frame that. I love the way you frame it, and it really is a way that we protect our peace, is the way I'm going to put it, right? Yeah. We protect our peace so that we can continue to expand and move toward our visions, our dreams, and our goals.
The catastrophes, the mayhems, the things that end up happening that you're protected from is that imposter syndrome, is that negative thoughts, is all of those things that stop us from becoming who we know we want and desire to be, which ultimately helps us to fulfill our purpose. And that's why this is such a huge part of my mission and purpose, to help persons transform. If I could transform, I think nobody else has an excuse, literally.
Yes, they got lots of excuses, but I wouldn't say they're all valid. So this has been just such a juicy conversation. I am so grateful for you having this conversation with me and blessing our audience with your wisdom. Where can our people reach out to you, connect with you, follow you, invite you to speak, work with you? Where can they find all of that information?
So really simple. If it's a social media, because people are different nowadays, Maiysha. People are like, you take out your phone to exchange numbers and they're like, oh, what's your social media? I'm like, oh, okay. So if you're a social media type person, it's Kes on Purpose on Instagram, on TikTok, on YouTube. Kes on Purpose. On Facebook and LinkedIn, it is my name, Keston Glasgow. And or my website is kestonglasgow.com, where you'd be able to book me to speak and anything you want to get this framework in your corporation. I'd love to come in and to see leaders start implementing this framework, and we go deeper in the different segments of it. Has been really game changing. So really excited. And thank you for this opportunity. And this conversation has been so good.
Oh my gosh, it's been amazing. And I can clearly see we have work to do together in many ways. So I can't wait for us to continue to grow in friendship offline and figure out what kind of collaborations we can do, because our work is so intersectional. So thank you so much for being here. And of course, for the audience, thank you for listening, because guess what? Without y'all, there's no podcast. So this has been a wonderful conversation. And if it's resonated with you, please share it. Share with a friend, share with a family member, share with a colleague, and go check out Keston on all of the platforms. We will have all of that in our show notes. So once again, thank you, Keston, for being with us today. And for the audience, until the next time we see you, stay empowered.